Hello and welcome to 52 Weeks of Design. Today, I'm inviting live with Chad Dorsey. Hello. How you guys doing? Hi.
Hey, Alexa.
Wow, that
You?
was mismatched enthusiasm. Hi. Hi, Alexa. How are you? How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm good. I am calling
Good.
from field. I'm in the Hamptons today, checking out a couple projects. What beautiful location. Are you at Strike?
Yes, I'm in my studio in Dallas, which is my design studio, as well as a strike, a sort of showroom in the front.
The mantle behind you is gorgeous.
Thank you. That's the Sausalito in a limestone
Oh my God,
that's been sandblasted.
it's totally stunning. Um, Yum. So I want to say, first off, thank you so much for everything you have been doing for Kips Bay Dallas. I thought the house was great. Did you?
Oh my gosh, I was so happy with the results, and everyone did such an amazing job. It's an honor to be a part of it. Just on the outside, it's a totally different experience this year being on the outside, but it was so fun to see it all come together.
Tell me a little bit about last year's Kips Bay. So, was it the same month? Did it-
It was almost exactly the same time frame exactly during the pandemic, which we weren't sure whether it was going to go forward or not, but it did. And honestly, it was probably one of the highlights of the year, I think, for everyone that participated. We had good attendance too, considering it was a pandemic.
I feel like that's when we were in a good swing of people getting back to school and stuff right around.
Yeah, it was this sweet little pocket between uh, the next wave and sort of a calm.
Yeah, calm before the storm. Um,
Yeah.
so how did you get roped in to join the board of Kips Bay Dallas?
Oh, Jan Showers, her office and antique store is next door to my studio, and we had done something together, and she called me the next week and said, "Hey, would you like to be a part of the committee?" And I said, "I could." Turned out Jan
I know.
Showers, and it was really an honor to be asked anyway. So it was a lot of
It
fun.
is so great to have you on board. You were so generous of your time and of offering things from Strike to all the designers, and it's such a great cause. And I know that it also this year at least we also supported Dwell with Dignity in Dallas and one other charity in
Crystal Charity Ball in Dallas, yes.
uh,
So
yes, because there has to be a charity for people to go to balls.
exactly. Guess you need a reason to raise money.
Totally. Um, so So, how did you start off in the business? I don't know a huge amount about your background.
Well, I'm trained as an
Uh,
architect and worked in various architecture firms around the country, and then landed at Wilson Associates, which was a Dallas hospitality firm, doing hospitality as a project manager, project architect, and got accidentally involved in the interior process by going on presentations around the country to different hospitality projects. And that sort of led into designing and building residential projects locally. And after a while, my clients started asking us to do the interiors for the homes too. And about 5 years ago, we started doing it in a bigger way.
um,
So,
I mean, I obviously I've read your answers to the questionnaire. Oh, by the way, like, yes, you can have a star crush that is not a movie star. I world of music, that you could have an architectural crush. You could, I mean, I found that to be a total lack of imagination. So
oh,
I'm
come on,
told,
come on.
um, but I just lost my train of thought thinking about those crushes. No, I know how you described your style, but I mean, just looking at you right now in your setting, like it feels like really cool materials, always lots of organic, like mixed media in terms of maybe not mixed media, mixed materials, stone, metal, woods, velvets, wools, really sexy, luxurious materials, right? But
Right.
tailored.
Very much so. I think I love materials and I love form. I think those are the things that sort of my architectural training has brought to me from an interiors perspective, being able to use those materials in a way that are impactful for the space. You know, I think of interiors a bit more as spatial experiences where you walk into a space and you feel the space, and those textures and forms create the interiors to me. The furniture is sculpture in a way,
Yeah.
if you will.
And but dynamic.
Right.
Not
Yeah, for
quite as
sure.
inert maybe as a sculpture. How do you live at home?
Very similarly to this, honestly, it's kind of minimalist, but textural and things that are casual and thoughtful that make me feel good. I think that, I mean, ultimately, that's kind of how I describe my style as relaxed
Yeah.
luxury. And luxuries are things that make you feel good. They don't necessarily mean they're expensive. They're things that make us feel good and we enjoy. We enjoy touching, we enjoy looking at, we enjoy sharing with others.
What's your favorite part of the decorating process?
The discovery. I think discovery, finding pieces or designing pieces that people love that are unique to the space, that unique to the client or to the user. I think those are the things that people really remember about our projects.
I'm getting an Armani vibe, just Armani slash John Saladino vibe from where you're.
Okay.
Who are some of your design heroes? And you can throw in architects there too.
Um, it's like we just finished a project where we did a Zaha Hadid table, and I think from a perspective of architecture, I think she had this amazing sort of air about her, but her buildings created this form. I love minimalists like Peter Zumthor. And then residentially, Olson Kundig. Those are all architects, but to me, they really resonate with the design for me.
Yeah, and I mean it's not an accident that people who are concerned with architecture are also concerned with the interiors.
For sure.
Sometimes you think it's like harder to silo them into disciplines, but different they are. Did you have a family upbringing where architecture was something discussed and
Not really. I'm from East Tennessee, so I'm kind of I would call myself a hillbilly a little
I'm
bit.
sure that ill
uh,
description.
um, it's interesting. My parents, they were designing their home, and they did hire an architect to do their home. And I remember they came. He came to our house to look at doing plans. And I remember sitting there, and I was 5, working on the interiors of the house, and then shopping with my mom for things in the house. She was really big into antiques, so the discovery of that was really cool. And when I was going to college, it was, I guess, after my second year, I spent my entire summer, all the money I made, buying furniture and refinishing it,
Okay,
redoing it
so
for my apartment in college. So that was early
yeah, you
on.
come by it. You've got some DNA in there, and also being shown that it's a thing is huge, right?
Right. For sure.
Are your
Absolutely.
parents excited by what you do?
I think so.
This is
Yeah.
like a
You
edible.
know, I don't tell them, it's like if I don't tell my mom something, she's the first to tell me, you didn't tell me about that. And, it's like, because, sometimes you just don't want her to go tell all of her friends about it. So it's a little bit
Do
embarrassing.
you do any work for them?
No, I mean, I'll go to see them and they'll want to do something. So I'll help, of course, but you have to be careful.
My parents used to always say that minimalism was for the very young because you didn't have to worry about the dog toys or the detritus brought in by the kids or in my case that would be like weird Chick-fil-A bags that I don't know where they got it from, but it's somehow found residence on the floor of the living room. um, do you find it that you have to bring a certain rigor to your lifestyle while you live within like a very sleek, beautiful interior? Or do you mind having those little talismans of existence from Chick-fil-A in your interiors?
Maybe not from little things from Chick-fil-A in my interior, maybe a balance between, I like things that are found and that are objects in space. So I wouldn't say minimalist. I've had a home like that before and I hated it. After that, immediately I went to a cottage. It's like I have to get out of this mid-century. It was that I had to have everything perfect. Wasn't comfortable. After that, I went completely opposite to, this tutor that had like all this stuff. So, it's an
Yeah,
experience all
you
along
go
the
back
way.
and forth. I always look at people who have um, who have some fluency in minimalism with great respect and awe, because I'm like, how do they do it? So it's very comforting to know that you go back and forth between clean and clutter. Is there a style that you would love to play with that you haven't yet?
I think it would be fun to play a bit with more traditionalism. I think, I've been around it my entire life. I was brought up in a very traditional style home, and I think I'm very interested in those details, but doing it more in my way, I think would be fun, which is minimalist, but from perspective of being classic and
Yeah.
traditional. And, I
Form.
think I'm good at, yeah. I think I'm good at honing in on a certain style and directing a project that way, being adaptable and creating something that works within the confines of the space is also with the client too.
When you were working in hospitality, I would assume, I'm actually in Quad right now, and I did the Quad Club here, which I love doing. But I would assume hospitality, as it like being in there all the time, is very difficult because you're working with committees all the time. Is that true?
Um, yeah, it was a big team. My project was the Palazzo in Las Vegas, and this was 20 years ago. But and demanding from the owner perspective, just being there and being sort of going through the ownership review of things, and was always a challenge, and sort of meeting those demands, and also something that you would be appreciative of from a
Yeah,
design
I mean,
perspective.
it's a funny like give and take, because on the one hand, it's so rewarding to work in residential, because you get to know your homeowner, and you get to really, you want them to be elated and love where they are, and you want to express who they are through their surroundings. But um, there's something enticing to notionally to me about hospitality, because more people get to see it and experience.
Yeah, I agree. We all sort of take inspiration from our vacations or our trips, or so the accidental hotel that you stayed in, you were shocked by how great it was. And it's really the only building type that I think relates to residential at all. Every other building type doesn't really translate to how
Right.
residential design is. Yeah, and I think we all are inspired by that. I think if you're not inspired by that, then you're missing something. Uh, always hate to hear someone say, "Well, oh, why do I want to stay there?" I'm just going to sleep in the room. I'm like, well, you totally missed the point.
Yeah.
That's not why you're staying there. You're staying there for the
Well,
experience.
I mean, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I'm both. I do both of those things, because sometimes you just got to go and stay at the Courtyard Marriott and get your stuff done, and like get out of there. But on vacation, definitely, I would like to, you know, if at all possible, all the time, I would love to stay somewhere beautiful. But sometimes it's just like not my parts. Um, I think that comment reminds me of when people exhort people to, like use your beautiful china and your silverware, which I do agree with. Like what's the point of having it if you're not?
There's no point in having anything that you don't use. I think if it's stored away and you don't use it, then you either need to find a way to use it
Yeah.
or
Except for my really, really
do some.
skinny jeans when my waist was 23. I like to have those just as an artifact to prove that they were in my possession. Now I wear them as a hat. But when you get inspiration, when you're going around and staying at hotels or traveling, where are you going?
it can happen in the most bizarre places. Sometimes it's just accidental. I mean, I was in San Antonio and stayed at a hotel that was really interesting that I actually did not expect that. Or it could be going to a restaurant or a bar and being able to have those conversations. And that's one thing I try telling my team, we might not be able to afford to do the same things our clients can do, but we can all go have a drink at the restaurant bar or go there because those conversations are invaluable in talking about a project and kind of relating to one another.
Actually, that's something I think about a lot when I think about doing a TV show, which I would, you know, in my heart of hearts would love to do. But when you liken it maybe to cooking, everybody can have one bite of caviar, but it is hard to have like one bite of the velvet covered sofa.
That's true, but you can sit on it.
Sit on it and be chewed away. But 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 yeah, I do you also go to museums and house museums? I mean, are you always on the hunt?
To some degree. I mean, I think, that's just a hobby or it's your pastime. It's in your blood, probably. So if you're traveling, you're always looking for that one thing that's cool, whether it's a museum or whether it's an art gallery or whether it's a restaurant or bar, or what have
And
you.
I read that you said amangiris were your favorite, so I could totally see that, like a cool zen, lots of materiality, lots of texture, but like plopped into different settings.
Yeah, the surrounding kind of makes that.
Yeah, there's something about them, and I've never stayed at one, but I've been the person who I got to see stuff, but I haven't stayed there. Um, there's something, they're almost like temples. There's something worshipful about them.
Absolutely. They have their own following, It's like they go around to all of them.
But as I say that and I look at the interior behind you, that is actually the vibe I'm getting. Something sacred. The lines, the shadow play. I don't know what that wall color is behind you, but it's really beautiful. Um, Reverential. And I do enjoy a good, strict room that feels like there's an ambient reverence.
Thanks. I do too. I mean, it's so fun though. I mean, it goes back to even the show house where you see all these different styles and people come together in one place. And, as designers, we all sort of love seeing other people's process. It's all fun
Yeah, though for show houses, there's that component where you want to put on a show. Yeah.
for sure.
Tell me, Frank, how
I,
did that come about?
Accidentally, I always designed like fireplaces for clients just because it was something that was just, I always did, in the space. But there was a fireplace on a renovation project that was actually not centered in the room. And the furniture plan really wanted to be centered. So I designed this asymmetrical fireplace that I call the Malibu. And it turned out really well. And I thought, well, it'd be really cool to do a symmetrical version of this. And so that started number two. And then I thought, well, maybe we should do a fluted version of that, which is the one
I,
behind me. So yeah, it kind of developed about seven over the course of a year. And it kind of took off a little bit. And
go about constructing that business? Did you make a few for yourself and then this needs to be pulled out into a separate company? Where were you sourcing your marble? Like, give me the whole skinny.
well, the source from the marble actually came from one of my fabricators that was making it for me. So we were able to sort of tie those two together, what they had access to. And now we've started to look beyond that and see what other types of materials that we can use and where we can get them from. So that part sort of was just a natural sort of occurrence in how the process was fabricated into the sourcing. Um, and now, we're working on our second collection, which is taking a little bit more exotic materials and learning from all the problems that we've had with the first collection in the sheer size of the pieces. They're solid blocks of stone, and just the movability of them is a challenge. So the new collection is much smaller, but it's much more precious. The
Is it
materials from a standpoint.
still monolith?
Yes, it is, but we're looking at doing different pieces that are interlock in a very almost deconstructed type way, and then integrating metals into that too. So, and the scale will be a little different, and we're excited
Do
about
you
it.
also do fire tools? I should know this.
No, we don't
Well,
currently.
me too, because that's super irritating.
I know it is. You're telling me. Yeah,
And also,
absolutely.
given what, like that's not a completely fleshed out category. And given that your mantles look very new and dynamic, they definitely would require something designed for them. Um, it's funny. Yeah, it's so funny that you are in Texas doing this. You would imagine somebody like in Maine or in some sort of cold climate doing this.
Well, you'd think. So, two things on that. Just from the standpoint of designing a living space, often the fireplace is the center of the room, and whether it's hot or cold outside, um, the furniture plan is typically arranged toward the fireplace. Um, Most commonly, but then also, take last winter, for example, it was freezing in Texas for a week, and we really sort of all appreciated our fireplaces that week. I'll never forget driving down the road and seeing people parked on the side of the road cutting down or picking up leftover logs from the wooded area because there was no power. So,
Yeah, that was so shocking. I'm still, I mean, obviously, we're still recovering from the impact on our, you know, materials from that.
yeah,
That was. Um, have you been to Italy to look at those quarries?
I have not, and that's on my list to do in the spring, actually. It was something that was going to happen just just before the pandemic broke out, and it got canceled. So,
Because I would imagine it sounds like a few times you've referenced accidents, just and that the process that makes it the process sound very organic. So I you're
right.
in that position at the like go to Massa and go to those quarries. I would be so interested to see how that, what switch that flipped in you.
It'll be, I react well to things like that. It's the one thing about like the process for me is like, let's just do it. I'm not the one to sit around and talk about it. We're either going to do it or not. So if go to Masa and I find something amazing and I create something new in my head, then I'll probably make it happen pretty quick just because I don't really like to sit on ideas and not make them happen.
Well, that's not a bad thing. Um, I love to have ideas and wait 10 years before I do with them. Not always very efficient.
I understand. It's sometimes it's easy to just think about them and that's always fun, but make
Tell
it
me
happen.
about your house. In
Well, I actually, well, my house was called the Surf Shack. Actually, I just sold it, so I'm actually a little bummed about that. But it was inspired by a beach shack on the California coast and living in Texas. How can you capture that experience of being along the coast in California, and have that in Dallas? So it's like carefree, where nothing is really precious, and we did all concrete floors, and it just had that sort of livability that it was a very positive, happy vibe that you're always able to enjoy.
what were the colors? Was it all,
It was pretty neutral, it was just white with gray floors and then lots of black, and then it had a graffiti wall. The outside of the home was black. And the exterior was inspired by this old derelict driveway that was at the previous home before it tore down. It was it felt like a path to the beach. And that inspired the entire thing. So I kept all this really rugged landscape and added to it. So it felt like you were walking to a beach path. So I used this white crushed limestone all the way in the front of the home and up to the door. So it was almost this minimalist landscape behind this rugged wall of bramble.
so how did you go about selling it? Why did you sell it?
Oh, just the market's crazy, and um, someone called me,
Part
and I just said okay, and I've regretted it ever since I signed the papers. So
how
anyway,
recent?
oh, it was in
Oh, I'm
June.
sorry.
So I bought another property on the same street. So I'm in the process of creating a compound. So it's going to be a series of a bunch of buildings. The bedrooms are going to be in a different building than the main house, which is going to be cooking and living. It's going to have a guest thing. My big thing, I like cars, so it's got a big garage, and it's going to have like a workout room
Now,
there,
if
a
you're a
spa.
car guy, um, do you need to worry about flooding?
No, not really. I mean, it's in it, just because it rains a lot here, or
No,
what do
I
you mean?
mean, if you're going to have crazy freezes or floods or whatever, I'm assuming when you're a carpenter, we're talking about like serious shit.
No,
Uh,
I don't have serious shit. No, I don't have this. I'm not that serious, but I like cars, so I have a tendency to buy them.
oh,
Um,
right,
but I've never thought about floods in my cars, so you're stressing me out now.
cars. And I think you should have some weird, cool thing where you drive up a ramp and have the cars on the second floor.
That would be
That would
great.
be great. Now, how do you justify having all of the bedrooms in a different building? And how are you connecting them to the living, eating building?
Right now, I'm not connecting. It's an outside experience. There might be one bedroom in the main house, but I'm not sure I'm going to use it that
Yeah.
way. Um, so I don't know. Why not? You know, the last house was two bedrooms. Who wants a two-bedroom house? Who builds a
I,
two-bedroom house? But in Dallas where everything's bigger,
yeah.
So I'm just like, that house was all about doing exactly what I wanted. And this one's going to be a continuation of that, where it's just something different. You know, why
Yeah. Why
not?
not?
It may eventually get connected because it's miserable to walk outside in the rain. But right now, I'm like, it sounds
Yeah.
interesting.
That's cool. Um, I don't remember if where did you say you'd love to have a second house?
London.
Yes, you did say London. Surprises
Yeah.
me. Um, yeah,
Really?
you don't seem like a guy to
Uh,
me. What do I?
I love
Um,
it.
oh, somebody said we can't hear you. Well, you should consider yourself lucky. Um, so what's your connection to London?
I'm just traveling there. Like I try to go every year between November and the end of the year. I think it's festive, but I just love the international city feel. I mean, it's truly probably the most international culture in the world. I think there's just every type of person from every country. Everyone's different views are captured there, and the art scene's great. Food is amazing. I like it. It might not have the best weather, but it's a great jump. It's a lot like Dallas in a weird way. It's a great place to get to a lot of places too.
Yeah.
So
It's so funny thinking how far we've come. When I was a kid, the idea of saying the food is so great in London would
I
have been
know.
laughable, and now it is just so good.
Well, that's just happened in the last
Yeah.
20 years. I mean, before that it was terrible. Or we're not terrible. It's just meat and
Yeah, which
potatoes every
actually, I
meal.
was always like, why does everybody not like this? I'm totally fine with fish and chips, but yes, it certainly wasn't. It wasn't regale. You couldn't regale somebody with tales of awesome British food. Um, yeah. Do you like British interiors?
I appreciate them. They're always, I think looking at like House and Garden UK is like one of my favorite
Oh, great.
publications. I always get great new design sort of sources in that magazine, and then also the interiors in the book are
Cool.
great. So,
Tell me about some of the projects you're working on right now.
well, I've just finished a project in
Oh
Nashville
yeah, you've
for
just
an
finished a
architect
bunch of
for.
projects, right?
Yeah, I just finished that project in Nashville, and then finishing a project in North Carolina
Mhm.
right now in Asheville for a former Dallas client, and then finished just finished another project in Dallas for a client that moved from New York to Dallas, relocated here, which was a really fun 90-day project, which is crazy, but it's probably one of our most
What does it
exciting projects we've
mean? What
finished.
do you mean?
It's like we had to source everything in 90 days, which sounds crazy, but that just meant we had to use like first dibs and galleries and things like that were very
What do
special
you think about
pieces. So we probably
upholstery?
had. Well, we rushed a
Okay.
lot of that, so it was difficult, but it was really fun. And then I have a couple of really exciting things happening in Dallas right now. So,
Um, would you ever work internationally? When you did hospitality, did you ever
oh,
go
for sure.
international?
Um, all my projects were in the
Yeah.
U.S., but our company did projects throughout the
Yeah.
world.
So what year did you go out on your own?
Um, Technically 2006. So created a design build company doing architecture, construction, and interior selections, and then created Chad Dorsey Design 2018 in January, which is focuses on interior design.
And tell me about that process. I mean, I always ask people about the process of starting their own companies because I didn't actually start my company. So I'm fascinated by the process and how many people you might have and, how did you want to structure it?
Well, when I started originally in 2006, it was so stressful. It's like, I was the one person doing everything. And, you never realize how much you appreciate all the different arms of a company that you work for. Bill, accounting and HR and all those things. And when you're doing it all yourself and you hire your first employee, I hired my first employee for a ridiculously low amount of money, but I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I can pay her. It's like so funny. But just fast forward to now, when I started Chad Dorsey Design in 2018, I wasn't really worried about it. It was kind of just a natural process of day-to-day business. Currently, we're 11
Mhm.
people in our studio in Dallas.
And has everyone been, well, it's 2018. So were they already there or did they hire on new for the 2018?
There was a transition probably of four or five of us, and then we were six people for a long time. Now we're up to 11.
No.
So.
Um, have you been staying, well, I mean, I guess because Texas has handled the pandemic very differently. Have you been able to go to the office all the time?
Yeah, we've been coming to the office regularly for the past year, really, since last summer, late last summer,
Since the show house?
pretty much.
Do you, I mean, does anybody stay at home? Has there been any lasting change from the pandemic?
No, we all work together. I think everyone all really wanted to come back to the office when we did start coming back to the office. I think the lasting change for the pandemic is just how what we're doing for our clients, the design uh, experiences and decisions are very different than they were before the pandemic. I think that's the
Well,
reality of
just
it.
you mean in how they want their house to function? What do you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. We're doing so many bar experiences that we never did before. It might be a small bar before. Now we're doing full-on lounges, and they're like this. They're like destinations for their friends to come to, and it seems like everyone's has their own. And we're really it's really a pull from some of my hospitality days where we're creating these identities for the bar and the lounge. So it
Thing.
has a name and it has a feel.
So you're just like curating an experience. Like this is the like when you said the surf shack, not
Right.
like that, like a named experience that you're
Yeah.
looking for.
People people love that. We're working on one now called the Stingray Bar, and it's really cool.
Um, yeah, that is really cool. That's kind of funny that the big lasting experience is alcohol fueled.
Well, I do think, well, at least our clients, I think they were staying at home. They weren't
Oh,
going
I
out to
get.
dinner, but they were having their close friends over. And so I think it eventually became, maybe two families that decided that they wanted to be
Or
together and that they might not.
creating a pod and then have.
Right.
Are you doing these bars indoor as and outdoor? Are they?
Um, Primarily they're indoor, but some of them, have open space that sort of goes outside where the doors can be completely open.
So one thing that I keep musing about post pandemic is the notion of these compounds. And since you said you were building a compound for yourself, it makes me want to talk to you about it because I feel like there was a moment there where people were shrinking their dwellings that they thought like, oh, we've all gotten too big, and they started to contract. But then I think the pandemic was like, oh no, 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 oh no, no, no,
Right.
no. We need to have a place where the whole family can be. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. That is so true.
so you are seeing this uptick, yeah.
Yeah, it's no longer, it was the downsides. Now it's more like we need this, we need that. And the other thing with clients, I think before, people were concerned about budget when they didn't want to price themselves out of the neighborhood or something like that. Now it's like we want this experience. We want our friends, we want our family to be here, and we're just
Yeah.
doing it. I think that's very
It's
different.
so interesting to hear you say pricing yourself out of the neighborhood, because I feel like that is not a New York thing. Because we have such an easy way to get from A to B, so
Right.
that we don't have to consider that as much. And because so many of our schools are private schools. But yeah, that makes perfect sense. That you've got a whole different set of issues. I know everybody listening to this is probably blown away that this is a novel idea for me, but yeah, that if you want to be in the good school district, then you really have to, that changes your whole landscape of what you can do, right?
Right. It really does. I think, so often it's school district, or then even the people that have the kids in private school, they just want to be cognizant of that. It's not even about, it's not about being showy or anything like that. It's just to being uh, considerate of that.
Yeah, and you want your neighborhood to, you don't want to be, one of these things doesn't go with the other.
Right.
But I mean, it's funny. Texas, obviously, like their neighborhoods are very grand compared to, a city neighborhood.
Right. I mean, if you're in the city in New York, it's you're defining the neighborhood by
Mm,
boundaries, and you do that in a neighborhood in Dallas too. But it's also kind of the drive in, and there's a whole sort of drive up to that
right.
neighborhood.
How did you end up in Texas?
Just a job in architecture. I moved here in 2000, so I've been here 21
And
years.
it never occurred to you to go anywhere else.
I
But
think when you move to
I can
Dallas,
get why you want to stay in Dallas.
it's so easy, and you could go anywhere you want. It's a great place. It's a great place for business. There's amazing people here. It's it has this. The summer can be brutal, but that's a great time to leave.
Yeah, and also like we have air conditioners.
We have amazing air conditioning in Texas. It's amazing. It's actually you can freeze yourself
Yeah.
to death.
Um, yeah. I mean, it's hot in New York too. You just go inside. Get the hell inside. Do you think you will always stay there?
I think, just back and forth between Los Angeles and Dallas now, and then I have a place in Pacific Northwest and on an island called San Juan Island. So, it's who knows where I'll be
You're there.
permanently.
How'd you get into LA and San Juan Island?
Oh, well, my just kind of LA kind of happened organically. I was working with my publicist out there a couple of years ago, and just kind of was out there all the time. And then San Juan Island happened. A friend of mine took me and my partner on a boat in 2005 to this harbor, and we liked it so much we kept going back every year, and ended up buying a house there in 2016. And so it's kind of a great place to go in the summer.
How much time do you spend there? Do you do any work there?
No, I don't want to. They have amazing products, but I don't want anything to do with it because it's my place to go away. It's so incognito. I have like clothes there, and it's a sweatshirt that has bleach on the arm, and I wear it practically every day, and no one cares. It's like totally opposite of Dallas. Not that anyone would care if I wore that in Dallas, but it's just not fussy, and I love
Speed.
that.
It's a
What's that?
different speed.
Oh my gosh, it's a totally different speed. It's like in the summer, it's like flipping a switch the other way. It's not hot. It's so casual. Everything on the island is grown locally, and there's no chain stores. It's pretty amazing.
Well, if you're there in the summer, how long do you feel comfortable leaving work at any moment?
Well, this year it was more in and out for 3 to 4 days at a time, and then back to Dallas. It was kind of every other week I would try to go for 4 days, 5 days. Last summer was probably during the pandemic was probably my best summer ever.
Yeah.
Spent the entire summer there. It was great. So
I know. I really think you need to be working on the West Coast. Maybe not there because it's too close to your happy, like your sacred area. But you need to, if you love it that much, you need more reason to be over there.
yeah,
Um,
I think so. It's an easy commute too. So kind of between the three is not bad.
What kind of flight is it?
It's you can fly to Seattle in 4 hours from Dallas. You can be there in 2 hours from Los Angeles. So kind of it's not bad. And then you take a little charter plane up to the island, which is about 30 minutes. It's about the size of the inside of a Volkswagen Bug from the 60s. It's so small. If you don't like small planes, you would not like it. Otherwise, you have to drive and then take a ferry.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that sounds like quite a commute, but okay, I'll take your word for it. Like
it's not
trains and
bad.
automobiles, like first LA, then you take a flight here, then you get on a ferry, then you
It's worth it
roller
though.
skate.
It's kind of like it's like the onion though. You know, you take off the onion and then you peel another layer off. By the time you get there, you're kind of like stress
Right.
free. Getting there was
All you have
part
left
of it.
is that bleached hoodie.
Yeah, but it's great. I love that
Oh,
hoodie.
Veteran Studio is saying, don't try to lure him away from Dallas. I'm not trying to lure him away. I'm just trying to have him live his best life. What does your partner do?
He builds houses.
Okay, so well, that's a tremendously convenient detail. Do you and he
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot together?
Nah, some a little bit.
Um,
A few
you keep
projects.
like church and state rules?
No, not necessarily, but just have different clients at different times, just see how it organically works together.
Are you able to work together nicely, or is it just kind of a bummer? I would love to get an office with my husband. I would love him to have an office in a shared office, but we do not work in the same field, nor would I want, I'd want us each to have our own room.
Yeah, I understand. It's always tricky. So,
So yeah, that's all you're gonna give me. Do you ever have to lay down the law when it comes to the architecture of your house?
um, I yeah, to some degree, it's a give and take. I think you know where you can go and you know where you can't. So you let go of things that you knew were going to be an
Right,
issue
right,
anyway.
right. Whoever cares more wins.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Or well, what does this year hold for you that I mean, 2022? What's up in 2022 for Chad Dorsey?
Well, we are, as I said, we're launching the second collection of a Strike, which we'll be very excited about. And then we're looking to add a few more representatives around the country. So we have, our arms into
Oh,
all the major
that's a very good
cities.
point. Where does one find your mantles across the country?
Well, currently, you could contact us at strikefireplaces.com. We're repped in Texas, and then in San Francisco. We're working on a rep in New York and Los Angeles. So that's kind of what we're working on currently. But currently, everything kind of flows through us in Dallas.
Right, right near, pretty central, so that makes it easy, or at least.
Yeah.
Um, so you have the second edition coming out. Would you be interested in other kind of product?
Yeah, we're working on a vanity collection that is also kind of works with the fireplace line. So that's something that's in the pipeline. So that's currently our product, and that's keeping us busy. We have a furniture, things that we've designed furniture collection, and we're working on trying to put that together so we could actually work on the sales of that.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. Um,
Yeah, but it's like also balancing that between our
no,
clients
no,
too.
no, no. I
So
totally get it. But what I totally get it. And I come at it differently because I don't manufacture the things that I do. I'm not a manufacturer, so it's a completely different model. But there's something so rewarding about these. They're not diversions because they're, weighted and important in your life or in mine, but that they're not just our classic model of what we're doing with our clients. It's very lovely because it's a productive, different outlet of your creative maker mind.
absolutely. I mean, it's totally different than what we do day to day, and that's the part that's fun about it. So it's been fun to build the brand, which is something that I just took on myself versus like having someone else do it, and it's been kind of like a little
Yeah,
baby that maybe one day it'll be a
a big
big
baby.
big baby. Exactly. Maybe, maybe not, but we're trying.
When you were branding it, I mean, when I, when I was trying to act like a grown up when I was younger, I sat down and I did a brand package, quote unquote. And I picked, certain words that were, the attributes of the brand. And then the next page was benefits of the brand, and so on and so forth. What was your guiding principle? Like when you say that, what do you mean?
You know, I think that just kind of making it like something that was textural that people resonated with was really the most important. That was organic, that felt handcrafted. Those were all really, and luxurious. Those were all sort of the idea behind it. And then creating the
I love the
names,
name.
like my my branding company helped us create it, and I think that was kind of, you know, based off of fire, and here we
Yeah.
are today.
Um, do you, when you're developing things, do you like pull back and make sure that they, if the touchstones of the brand are luxury, organic, textural, do you pull back and say like, does it hit this, this, and this? Like, do you put yourself through a
Um,
check?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. And then also, how are people going to react to this? Is it reaching 2 to 3 people? Or is it reaching 20? Those are all things that we really try to decide. And are we okay with it reaching 2 to 3 people? Maybe many times, yes. I don't need to reach everyone. That's what someone told me at the beginning. She said, well, these are too expensive. And I was like, well,
All-
that's okay because I don't have the capacity to build that many. So that okay, don't worry about that.
And
So.
if somebody came in and said, I want to do a hotel and I need 50 of them, you would source a different means by which to make it, right?
Right, and we'll deal with that if that happens. I
Right,
don't
right.
see it happening, but at the same time, that's kind of you can only worry about so many things at one
No,
time.
no, and I like that advice anyway, because there is the temptation to, more, more, more. I want everyone to have one of these. And sometimes like it's enough to make something tremendously beautiful and have two people have it. Um,
I
I
agree.
have a photograph from a photographer that I collect, and I sent it, the frame got wobbly and it was in my daughter's room and it fell on her bed, and happily she was not there to be conked out. But so I sent it to my framer, and I said to a different framer, and I said I need Parker Frames in New York, who's my go-to framer. I said, could you please frame this for me? And the photo was in the place where the frames were when a hurricane hit and it got damaged. And they called the photographer to get another print, and they had to destroy it because it is part of a very restricted series. And I just keep thinking more and more these days, like there's something really great about a restricted series, to force
Right,
yourself not to oversell it.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, meanwhile, please, anyone listening to this, I do not mean that about my furniture. Go buy my furniture.
Buy the
Yeah,
whole
all of it.
collection, one for every house.
20 console tables. Go for it. But there is room for both, for sure. For the small batch, artisanal, bespoke, and the big batch.
And we don't need everything in our home to be bespoke. But at some point, it's overkill. And then at some point, if everything is all from a line, then it looks too much like a showroom. So there's a fine line, and that's too something I try to coach our clients with. Everything doesn't have to be precious, and we don't want everything new, and we don't want everything old. It's a combination of all.
It's a considered balance, a thoughtfulness.
Yeah, right.
When we do show houses also, and I'm saying this not so much for you because you know this having done it and being on the board, but it's very important. And I used a lot of my product in my bedroom, but it was incredibly important not to use just my product. If you're just like a walking ad, you're not going to be allowed to do that. Like that verboten
Right.
in the show house business.
Yeah, I mean, the show house is about self-promotion to some part, and then some part is about, your creation and how you can take your things and other people's great things and create an amazing space. Of
Yeah.
course, in all of our spaces, we'll use things that we design, but then also other things that we love from other
Yeah.
people.
And there's got to be some fantasy, and there's probably got to be some sort of local interaction. Otherwise, why are you doing it there? Yeah. And when we flew into Dallas, it was I and a colleague who flew in, um, saw our room, and then went antique shopping. And we had, we're like, we're getting this, we're getting this, we're getting this, we're getting this, and we flew out that same day. And you know, quite a few of the pieces were, because we were scared that all of us were kind of like crouching at the starting line, and so we that
Right.
anxiety about getting those pieces before they could not be had.
Yeah. You did an amazing
Um,
job. It's just
you
so
have
great.
such great shops in Dallas. And I love, I mean, is your area just called the Design District?
It is, it's just a former warehouse district basically, and the design showrooms started coming down here 20 years ago, and it's just evolved, and now it's a huge design community. Designers are located down here, architects, builders. It's kind of a cool area.
In your friend group, how many of them are in your world?
Oh, it's a lot, we all have great. How many realtors and interior designers do we all know? Probably a
Oh
lot.
yeah.
Seems like it's both. I could, I have so many friends that are interior designers and architects, and also I think we surround ourselves with what we do, and you accidentally those becomes your friend group as well. Accidentally there again, everything's accident.
A lot of serendipity happening for you. But yeah, it makes sense. Anyway, well, I am so happy to have met you through the process of Kips Bay, and just about everybody in the house was and we know that some of the characters like Nazira and people behind the scenes who are making it happen are tough cookies, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, you've got to meet Chad Dorsey. It's amazing." And it's been
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure working with you too. So appreciate you having me on your
whatever this is.
podcast.
Um, well,
Yeah,
thank you. And so that's the Malibu, fluted Malibu mantle behind you. Oh, that's
Sausalito, Sausalito.
Toledo. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Well, I love that one. And it's curved. It curves in.
It curves in at the firebox,
That's
yes.
amazing. I would like a desk like that too, please. Okay, everyone has to go to Chad's, I beg your pardon, to Chad Dorsey Design, and it's Chad Caleb Dorsey, right?
Chad Caleb Dorsey on Instagram, yes.
And Strike. And it was tagged in his 52 weeks, so you got to go check it out. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you soon.
All right, sounds great.
Kisses.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.